Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Jamel Gibbs, your family-oriented entrepreneur. Welcome to another podcast episode. This is the Business and Investing Podcast, where you learn all things business and investing related. So today, we're going to talk about the importance of credit. Obviously, credit is important when it comes to real estate and making money when you know how to use it. Yes, we talk about having no money, no credit in real estate. Yes, you can do it all day long, but you can get that much further when you have access to the money. You can get that much further when you have access to the credit. You can move that much faster when you have access to these things. So do not discount the fact that you're gonna eventually run into an issue if you don't have money or credit at the end of the day. This will help you speed up the process. It's going to help you get from where you are to where you want to go that much quicker. If you had no money or credit, you can absolutely do it. It's going to be that much harder. You're going to have to put more time into it. Look, I'm always 100% real with you, right? I don't want you to be misled by anything that you see online. I don't want you to be misled by anything you heard, right? The gurus is talking about 30 days. You could, get your first check is absolutely possible. But for 99% of you, you're not going to close a deal in 30 days. This is a craft. You got to learn the skills. You got to learn what it takes. You can't compare yourself to everybody else, right? And I'm not here to be negative about it. I'm here to be real with you so you can think long term. It's a long term business. It took me 13 months to get my first $1,500 check. If I'd have gave up in month 8, that $48,000 check that came right after, I would have never materialized it. I was still living in the projects at that time in Brooklyn, right? So at the end of the day, I'm here to teach you what you need to know and give you real information that you can apply into your lives so that you can help your family, help the legacy, help the generational wealth, be able to create that financial freedom that, be able to break those chains to be able to get from where you are to where you want to go. And credit is one of those things that can help you move that line that much quicker. So we're going to talk about if you have credit issues right now, we'll talk about how to get some of those credit issues fixed, right? Credit repair is a real thing. We're going to talk about maybe the importance of having a decent credit score so you can get access to the money in order to be able to grow that much quicker, right? Some of these lenders, even hard money lenders, they claim to be asset-based lenders, but they're looking at your credit score too, right? You don't have to have perfect credit, but they're going to be looking at your credit. Let's be real, right? And if they see that you're not credit worthy, even though the asset can be a good asset, you can have plenty of equity in a house. It could be a great deal, but your credit is going to play a factor in that. So if you don't want to invest in real estate the hard way, right? I think, honestly, you could, the no money, no credit thing is the hard way to approach real estate. It's an entry level way of approaching real estate, the beginner's way. I think that's how you learn the business. Though I do think that that's how you learn how to grind. But once you advance and you want to take your business to the next level, yeah, you're gonna need the credit. You're gonna need the money to be able to do this. So let's talk about how to repair your credit today. Ty is he's a real estate investor, a virtual real estate investor. He's a credit repair guy. He's doing it all right now, and we're gonna talk to him over the next 30, 45 minutes or so. We're going to have them break down what you can do in order to be able to repair your situation if you have credit issues and be able to get on that line to generational wealth as well. Todd, the credit guy,
Hey,
what's
what's
up,
going on?
man?
What's going on? Thanks for inviting me on the show. And yes, that's very, very much true. You can do all the things you want to do in real estate without credit, but it makes it that much more easier when you have um, good or superior credit, I would say. Um,
That's right, man. That's right. So look, man, I reached out to you about a week ago or so, and you immediately wanted to get on the line. I appreciate that, man. And you know, I like the fact that number one, you're from New York.
right,
We talk the same
right, exactly.
language. But number two, you're showing people how to repair credit, and ultimately that will lead them to be able to create that generational wealth for themselves as well, man. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about
All right,
yourself,
so
bro?
me, I'll be 35. This no, I'll be 34 this month. Sorry, y'all, my bad. So I'll be 34 this month. Believe it or not, I had very terrible credit not too long ago. I would say about 3.5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. I had terrible credit. I had a foreclosure. I just was in a real bad spot. As you know, Jamel, like my son was sick. He passed a few months ago. But all those things combined.
I'm sorry to hear that,
Yeah,
man.
I appreciate that. But all those things combined made me start thinking a little further down the track. Right? I can't continue to sit in a rut with bad credit. Once you have bad credit, your options are limited. You know what I'm saying? Your car
Hmm.
breakdown today, you have bad credit, you can't go and go. You don't got to finance a $50,000 car, but you go finance a $20,000 car and continue life and continue things to go on. It would be horrible to have to go try to ask a parent or find a friend to co-sign, and then a lot of our community is like credit is like taboo. Like, oh no, I don't want no credit. You know what I'm saying? Like that's bad. I want to pay everything in cash. When in all reality is that's not the way of the world. That's not life. Everybody kind of uses credit.
Right.
Yeah, you
Can't
can't leverage
leverage.
nothing. So you kind of you need that.
And even when you mention a $20,000 car, you're probably gonna be paying the same amount for the 50
Right,
anyway because
right.
of the interest. The
Right.
interest is gonna
You
be
have bad credit,
ridiculous.
right? So a lot of people going in here, getting they go for the $50,000 car, but technically, if you have bad credit, you go get a $20,000 car and your interest rate is at 19, 20, 30%. You'll be paying $700, $800 a month for a car.
Hmm.
Like that makes no sense. If
Hmm.
somebody driving around in an $80,000 car paying the same payment as you, but they got a
Yep.
750 score,
Hmm.
800 credit score. So they're reaping the benefits of having good credit. So that's pretty much it when it comes down to understanding the importance of credit.
Got
If
it,
you
man.
wanna take your life to the next level, you need to prioritize credit.
Absolutely, man. So let's talk about how obviously you got started in credit repair because of your personal situation. What made you want to start a credit repair operation?
Well, ultimately, it was to help people out and show them that there's a way, right? You have
Hmm.
another way out. Like you're not just stuck in whatever situation you're in now, but you have to actually take it serious and be, consistent. But excuse me, sorry.
Right.
Ultimately, me, it was to actually help other people out and let them see, and like the people around me, let them see that yo, dog, like y'all want to run businesses, y'all want to do X, Y, Z in the third, but where y'all getting this money from? I want to know, like,
Hmm.
cause who wants to risk their own money to do something like that? Makes no sense. I'd rather risk
Right.
the bank's money than my own personal money.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what leverage is, man. At the end of the day, leverage is when you have good credit and you have access to these different banks, you can leverage their money to be able to make a profit. And that's basically the way of the world, man. That's how
Everybody do it.
you supposed to
Everybody.
do it. Everybody I know who's worth anything, when it comes to making any kind of money, they prefer to use other people's money, private money, banks' money, etc. That's how you build money, and that's how you do it relatively quickly. So, what type of mindset shift? Like you talked about, you talked about, someone who wants to buy everything cash, but then they have no credit being built up. What type of mindset shift does it take to start using credit to be able to
So the
leverage?
mindset shift that I personally feel needs to be shifted is to understand credit is a
Hmm.
tool, right? And it's not to be fair. You shouldn't be afraid of it. You understand? A lot of people that I feel that are afraid of credit, they have very poor discipline, right? They feel that
Hmm.
I go get this $10,000 credit card, I'm about to go just start buying everything I see in sight because it doesn't necessarily hit me right now. But when a statement comes in the month, you're like, oh damn, I spent $5,000, $6,000, and your income doesn't match that. So now you find yourself in a situation where it's like, damn, how am I gonna pay this back? Or I can't really afford to pay this back. So the mindset shift needs to be that credit should only be used for the things that to make you money. So
That's
if
right.
I'm using it to start that business or to put money into a real estate deal or anything that it shouldn't be made to go buy Louis Vuittons and Gucci and flex for your friends on
Mm-mm.
social media. That's not what credit is for. Like, that's how a lot of even I'll even take it down to these vacations and the couple type of thing you trying to show off for Instagram and everybody on social media trying to show yeah we go on vacation 8 times a year and you're like that's fine you living life but that's not what your credit card is for. You shouldn't be doing that or
That's right.
taking these what's the new Affirm thing where they you pay for your flights and installments and things like that. Like stuff like that is like very super questionable. Like you shouldn't be using it for that.
One of the things I saw from you recently, you had a post, I believe it was on
Mhm.
Facebook. Um, it said something like, just because you have the car, that doesn't mean you can afford it.
Yeah,
Something like
yeah,
that, right? And then you talked about having assets to be able to cover the car so you don't have to work. And that's exactly what I preach, man. That was part of the reason I wanted to reach out to you, because we talk the
right.
same language. We have the same mindset, same understanding, man. So how important is it to avoid using your credit to buy things that's going to cost you money versus using your credit to build up assets to be able to build real
Oh,
wealth?
it's extremely important because things get out of hand really quickly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially a lot of people aren't used to, like, we deal in real estate, right? So we're used to getting lump sums of money at every few months. Like we're used to getting 10, 20, 30, $40 checks, right? But imagine the average person who does not come across that type of money and they get
Mm-hmm.
approved for a credit card for $10,000, $20,000. That's like somebody just handed them $20,000. They never had that type of money. So you
Reckless.
have no idea how to manage that now. You just feel I can just
Mm-hmm.
charge everything. You're charging from food, going out, clothes.
I did that when I
Right,
was
right,
20.
right,
I
right,
did
right.
that when I destroyed my credit when I was
We
20
know
years old, man. I did
that. We
the
know
same thing.
that.
Because what happened was, so right out of high school, I registered for Mega
Okay.
Evers Community College, right? Because that was about the best school I could go to at that time. And as soon as I registered, I got all these credit card offers. And to me, that was free money. I was 19, 18, 19 years old with credit. They shouldn't be offering 18 to 19-year-olds, you know, five, six, 700, $2,000 credit cards at that point. To me, that's just a bad time. But I destroyed my credit. So by the time I was 21, I had to start in real estate. I had to rebuild and do things a little differently. But again, purchasing the wrong
Right.
things. Going out to eat. I was trying to show off for the girls, all kinds of stuff, man. And it just, it affected me for a couple of years because I had to rebuild my situation, man. So had I known about, buying assets and all of that stuff back then, things would have been different. And that's part of the reason why we teach this stuff now. So even a young crowd, right? Somebody listening right now, they might be 18 years old. We're kind of
Right.
preventing them
Don't,
from making the
don't do
same
this.
mistakes, right? We did that so
So
you
you don't
won't
have to
have to
do
go
it.
through it.
Trust
You
me.
know what I mean?
Don't do it. Right.
you know. So obviously using your credit to build assets is super important. But what are some of the obstacles that people are going to face with a certain amount of money if they have decent credit right now or no credit, and if they're looking to rebuild their credit? What are the obstacles that you feel
All
like
right.
they're going to
So
face?
the opposite. Oh, in the means. Do you mean in the means of repairing or getting yourself out of a bad credit situation?
Let's just say credit repair or
All right.
both.
So
Let's
I
talk
want to
about
say,
both.
if you're in a bad credit situation right now, one thing I want to say is stop listening to social media gurus telling you that you can get your credit repaired and fixed in 30 days. Credit repair is a marathon. It is not a race, right? If you have 10 years worth of bad credit, it took you 10 years to get bad credit. You're not going to fix that in 30 days. Like, it doesn't happen.
That's
And
right.
that's a part of the mindset as well. Like a lot of things that we see on social media, these people are telling you, yeah, we'll sweep your credit and clean your credit in 30 days, 60 days. When in all reality, that's not how it goes, right? A lot of these people are doing things that are not ethical, right? I don't promote
Mm-hmm.
anything that's unethical. We're not filing fake police reports. We're not filing fake FTC reports. We're not filing fake. We're not filing anything fake. We're not giving them anything fake. Credit repair is, you have rights as a consumer with the FCRA, right? You have rights as a consumer that you can legally fight the credit bureaus to remove negative and inaccurate information off of your credit, right? As a consumer, you have the right. Ultimately, people don't understand this or know this. As the consumer, you are the most powerful piece on the puzzle. You kind of
Mm-hmm.
control what goes on and what happens with your credit. Now, when we look into things, the average person may or may not know there are three major bureaus. Outside of those bureaus, there are probably like 3,000 secondary bureaus. These are the bureaus who kind of like hold your information. So they hold like your address, your employment, your driver's license, your driving records, like all this stuff is furnished from them to the major three bureaus, which is TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. Right? These are the main people that. Though these are the people who the majority of the world, well, the majority of America knows, right? Who furnishes our data and eventually gives us a score or reports the positive or negative information on our credit reports. So ultimately, if you're in a bad credit situation right now, you need to ultimately understand where you're at financially. You need to pull your credit and pull your credit from a reputable source because everybody is not the same. I would say like the people pulling from Credit Karma and things like that, you need to get you a paid credit monitoring service, right?
Right.
And if you can't,
So what's some of them that you
all
recommend?
right. So my top recommendation is Smart Credit. I actually, if anybody wants to go at the end of this, you can go to my Instagram page, click on it. You get a trial, a 7-day free trial. You get the pull. It pulls all three bureaus. Secondly, after that, I recommend Identity IQ. It's similar to Smart Credit as well. You're going to get all three bureaus, and it's going to give you a detailed analysis of your report. It's going to show all three reports. It's going to show you everything in detail, so that you can actually audit. What we call it is a credit audit. You need to audit yourself, right? So what you want to do with this is you want to go into your credit. The first thing that we audit before we start attacking any collections, charge up, before we start attacking any of that, the first thing we want to go after is our personal information. So our personal information is name, date of birth, previous addresses, previous employment. We want to make sure all that stuff is in unison and accurate, right? Because a lot of the data and a lot of the negative information that we have on our credit is affected by our personal information at the very top of your credit report first, right? So once we clear that up, that starts making the dispute process so much easier. So usually when you pull this, at least when I usually pull people, you have about 3 different names. You have alias names. Like it's just a bunch of information there. You may have 2 birth dates. They may not have the right social. Like things may be wrong. They may have the wrong employment, wrong phone numbers. You want to get all that stuff removed with a basic dispute letter telling them this is what I want. This is what should be on here. Anything outside of this should be removed. That should be the first thing that you should focus on. Clear that all up.
So focus on the personal information
Your
first,
personal information.
and that way that'll make everything else easier. And I'm gonna attest to that. Just a couple of years ago, man, you know, I'm in a pretty good situation, obviously, but I checked my credit a couple years ago. They had wrong addresses on there. I had somebody that was out in Charlotte. I never lived in Charlotte a day in my life. I'm out in I'm an hour and a half, an hour east of Charlotte. Somebody out there was using my credit for Time Warner cable. I had somebody else on my credit from Orange Street in Pennsylvania and Reading. I never lived on Orange Street before, so I had to clean all that stuff off my credit.
That's
You know what I mean?
also a super good key indicator to make sure that you haven't been defrauded. Because if you start seeing certain stuff on there that really doesn't make sense, it's like maybe someone has my information and they're using it for other things such as cable, phones, things of that nature. They may even have credit lines out in your name that you don't know.
Yeah. It's crazy, man, but was able to catch that before it got any worse, you know. Because it's you know, there's a whole lot of people being defrauded. If I could be defrauded, then I know for sure, you know, other people can as well. And I'm pretty savvy when it comes to that stuff. So, you know, there's always somebody out there trying to use your stuff. So get your credit clean first, right? What would you do next?
All right, so now once we get our personal information cleared up, so this is why I tell you that the social media gurus, they tell you to get your stuff cleared in 30 days is kind of impossible. Because once we send that first round out and it comes back that they removed everything and they clear everything up, now that's going to take about 30 days, right? So now it could be a little faster. Sometimes it's 10, 15 days, but usually they got 30 days to correct information, right? Since the pandemic, they kind of have 45 days, but I don't know if they're continuing that now that the world is kind of like getting accustomed to living like this. But essentially, it was 30 days. Now, after we do that, now we need to go down our credit report and see any inaccurate information or accounts that we do not recognize. We need to check for any accounts that we do not recognize. That means any credit lines that are not yours, that you don't know of, or anything of that nature. Anything that you don't recognize. The next thing I would do is look for any accounts that are in collection status or charge-off status. I would look for any duplicate accounts because a lot of people have duplicate information. So one of the things about duplicate information is you're being dinged 2 times for the same debt. So that's like, it's ruining your credit because now that $10,000 debt is showing twice. So now it looks like you owe $20,000 in negative. It's $20,000 worth of negative information. So you need to dispute that. That's wrong. Like, why would that be? why do I want to get dinged for information twice? Now the FCRA states that all information has to be verifiable and accurate, right? So that's a key indicator. That's not how did you verify that? Who verified that? How is that accurate? How is this debt duplicated? That's inaccurate? Like, you can't do that. Next, you're going to look at your collections accounts. Collection accounts are when the original creditor has given up on trying to collect from you per se. So if you have a $5,000 credit card, you stop paying on it, we're probably 60, 90 days out, you haven't paid, they've given up on trying to collect this debt now, which means they either sell the debt off to a collection agency. They sell the debt off to a collection agency, which means now when we really break it down, you can dispute that with them because now they have to validate that debt.
They have to validate the debt. So do you feel like you should pay the collection agency?
All right, so this is my take on it, right? It depends on where you're at in life and what you're trying to do. So if you got time, heck no. If you got time, heck no. Dispute them because sometimes it'll come off in the first round, right? It's going to take maybe 60, 90 days, but that first round, you're probably going to get them because by law, you never went in contract with them. So if I owed Capital One and then Capital One goes and sells my debt off to XYZ collection agency, right?
10 cents on a dollar, right?
I never went into contract with you, sir. I don't owe you anything. I owe Capital One, but I don't owe you. So how are you putting this on my credit? Because I never validate this debt for me.
So would you pay Capital One, or would you just leave the debt?
I would never pay the debt collection agency, right? Unless time didn't permit me to fight them, right?
And honestly, if the Capital One, if they sold the debt, it's probably not on the books anymore, so they don't even have the account, so they're not even going to.
It's not on the books. Once they did that, they wrote it off, right? So that's what right. Am I saying it right? That's what charge-off is pretty much is on your credit report, right? A charge-off is pretty much that the Capital One still has to pay taxes because the government looks at that as an asset still, right? So they write it off as a charge-off so that they can no longer be dinged for your debt, pretty much, right? Right. So that's what a charge-off is, and that's to the original creditor. The original creditor would be Capital One. That's who originally lent you the money, right? So once they sell that off, now when that collection agency has that, I've never been in contract with ABC collection agency. So when I ask you to validate it, 9 times out of 10, they have no validation.
Meaning, and when you say validate, that means your signature on the document.
Validation means the signature on a document, a signed signature with me, not even necessarily
with them,
and technically not even really a signed signature makes it a valid contract either. That doesn't necessarily make it a valid contract
because it has nothing to do with
the agency. It has nothing to do with the agency. So a lot of times, what the collection agencies do, they'll send you the contract from Capital One. And then a lot of people get scared and freaked out, like, "Oh my God, they done sent me proof that this is my debt." When all the reality, that's not proof.
because their name is not on it. So
I
you don't
don't
owe
owe
him
you any.
anything.
That's great. Thanks for showing me that. Cool. But please, can you validate the debt between me and you that I owe you this debt?
Right. Now here's the deal. A lot of, just for you guys listening, a lot of times these credit or collection agencies, what they'll do is they'll say, we are working on behalf of um let's say Capital One, right? When they do something like that, what would you do?
For one, I'm still doing the same thing. Honestly, I'm still telling them, "Oh, that's cute. Could you please validate this debt, please? Because you could say you're working for anyone. But ultimately, like,
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing. Like, when collection agencies call you and things of that nature, don't be afraid to pick up the phone because
Mm-hmm.
is a very thin line between what they can do. I can tell anybody right now, get on the phone with a debt collector right now, and they can't hang up the phone on you. You can hang up. You can do whatever you want. They can't hang up the phone on you. If they're calling you within certain times, I believe they can't call you before 8 a.m. and no later than after
Mm-hmm.
8 p.m.
Yeah.
Keep a record of it. If they call you after that or before that, keep a record of it because you can sue them. Each infraction is $1,000. You can sue them for that.
And if they hang up the phone on you, what happens?
I don't think. I just don't think that they can. I don't think permitted by law. I don't want to speak wrong, but I don't. I think you can. I think you can sue off of that too.
Okay.
Or it's just something in the practice that they can't. Their practice that they can't hang up the phone on you because they're calling you about a situation. Something like that. I don't want to
Right.
misspeak on it because I know I'm not super clear on why they can't. Yeah,
Understood.
right. So I
Understood.
don't want to say something that's inaccurate when that comes to that.
Mm-hmm. So, so typically they'll obviously try to fight back because they have money involved in it. They bought the debt, et
I
cetera,
mean,
et cetera. So you just got to keep
no, what they
trying,
want to do,
and
what they want to do is
eventually,
catch. When the collection agency calls somebody, the average person is scared. Like, oh, ruin my credit,
mm-hmm.
they done drop my score, man. I need to pay them. But guess what? If you get on that phone with them people and you pay that debt, guess what they're gonna do?
What's
They're
that?
gonna mark it as paid, right? But not paid as agreed, right? They're gonna still mark
Right, and that's gonna hurt your
gonna hurt
credit
you. It's
even
going
more.
for one. It's gonna close the account, right? You're gonna close the account out, but it's still gonna keep. They're gonna still keep all those that late payment information on your credit.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're speaking in speed. When I mean by speed, when I tell people if you're moving with speed, if you're trying to get funding right now, that means you need to move with speed. If you're trying to go for a mortgage
Mm-hmm.
right now, because your loan officer is going to tell you, we can't give you this loan with this collection on here or these late payments. We can't give you this loan because of this, right? So they may tell you go pay that collection agency or go pay them, just get it off. So that's what I mean by speed. If you need to
Pay for
pay for
deletion.
deletion, that's exactly. But you need to make sure that you get that in writing from that collection agency. Because if you don't,
Right, and 9 times out of 10, they'll take a fraction of it just to get you off of their
right,
books, and they'll still
right,
delete it.
and that's the next part, the negotiation. If you're going to, you negotiate with them. Don't ever pay them what they're asking you for, because the
Yeah.
debt is already they've already marked the debt as a loss. This collection agency bought it for cents on the dollar, so anything that they get is pretty much a profit to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I owe them $500, I'm calling and be like, hey man, I got $100 for you. But if I send you this $100, I need this removed from my credit, and I need that in writing. 9 times out
Right.
of 10, they're going to probably counter with you, be like, yeah, we can do 200. Boom. If you can do the 200, do it. Be like, but I need that in writing. I
Mm-hmm.
need that because what then happens is some of these collection agencies, they'll just naturally remove it. But some of them try to be sneaky, take your money and still not do it. So now I need it in writing so now that I can send that letter along with my dispute letter to the credit bureaus and let them know that this account needs to be removed from my
Yeah,
credit report.
that's right, man. So you pay for
Pay
deletion
for
right
the
there. Now, what about using the FTC? I know a lot of people go straight to the FTC rather than the bureaus to try to get stuff removed
All right,
off of their
so
credit. How is that
So see,
strategy
the
for you?
FCC for me is similar to like the police reports, the police report stuff, right?
Ah.
Um, Usually people file for FCC if you've been defrauded or something fraudulently happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're like
Mm-hmm.
the government or police for that. You know what I'm saying? But if something unfair you feel is unfair is happening to you in the dispute process or with a creditor or a creditor or the credit bureaus, you can file a dispute with the
Mm-hmm.
CFPB. Right.
Got you.
So the CFPB, they
Got you.
kind of they're like the middleman. They're gonna knock on the door, like, yo, this
Mm-hmm.
consumer here, because that's the Consumer Financial Bureau of Protection, right? They're going to fight for you over your rights. So you can go there, you can fill out the information, tell them what happened, give them the company information. They're gonna contact that company. So I'll give you an example about something that recently happened to me. It's even on my page. Um, so I have an M&T bank card. I've never been late with this card. I always paid them on
Mm-hmm.
time. Everything's been fine. Something happened. I don't know. I could not tell you what happened, but I got an alert. Boop boop boop. Late payment. M&T. Excuse me? I've never been late pay anything. So I called them up, just trying to handle things like business to business, normal people. Hey, listen, man, I've never been
Mm-hmm.
late. I don't know what happened with you guys' system, whatever the case may be. So the customer service rep was not being receptive. Oh, well, you're late. It is what it is, because these people make money off of bad credit, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they don't want you to have good credit. Um, so they want to make money off of that. So when they weren't receptive, I just filed a complaint with the CFPB, and literally
Mm-hmm.
within 2 hours, corporate at M&T Bank was calling my phone like, "Oh, what's the problem? We're gonna try to settle this. We're gonna get this situated and fixed, because I've been a customer for so long. I've spent so much money. I paid my credit card balances. I done spent my max, paid it off. Spent my max, paid it off. I done spent so much money with you guys. Would you want to lose a customer? Would you want to lose a customer over a little discrepancy over a late
Right.
payment? Like, would you
Right.
want to do that?" And then it also makes them look bad, because now I made a complaint with the CFPB, which that's public information now. People can go look and be like, "Oh yeah, this bank does little shady stuff," right? Or they just don't want that thing on their company's profile where somebody can look up any
That's right.
negative information about. They want their reputability to be top tier, right?
Now, do you handle let's say a loan or a credit card differently than you would handle let's say a mortgage if you were late on your mortgage or something like
Late
that?
on your mortgage and the credit card. Honestly, I would. Well, with that, I would. Your first point of contact is contacting the original creditor before
Mm-hmm.
you do anything. Before you make any
Yep.
disputes, before you do anything or escalate and go crazy on these people, you want to contact them first, right? Usually, if they're not receptive, you want to look for the CEO or whoever is in charge. You can find them on LinkedIn, online. You look for their email.
Mm.
You send them a nice email, let them know the situation, whatever happened, explain that, yo, I've been a valued customer for X amount of time. Now, if they're not receptive, then you got to try to escalate it further. You can dispute
Gotcha.
it with the bureaus too, because sometimes you could just dispute it, the late payment, and then sometimes they just correct it naturally.
That's definitely good
Sometimes,
advice
right?
right there, man. What about just waiting 7 years for it to drop off your credit?
I mean, if you want to wait 7 years, then you got to think about this. So a late payment can drop your score to 100 points. So if you're at 700, one late
Mm-hmm.
payment drops you down to 600. So
Yep.
now, say you max out your credit cards, it's gonna drop you another 80 points. Now you're at a 520 when you just at a 700. That could happen in a month.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's very. You have to be very. You have to treat like some people. I check my credit every day. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a habit that people should get into. Check your credit every day. Know what's going on with your credit status every single day. So that you're never surprised.
I know with companies like Identity IQ, they only update once a month or something
Yeah.
like
Once
that. The smart credit,
Smart Credit does a
they
daily, like a daily thing, but they do the same thing. Like your main profile updates every 30 days. But if something happens within
gotcha.
that 30 days, say you get an inquiry or
They'll
something, yeah, it's
notify
going to
you.
notify you. But even your score
Gotcha.
fluctuating, it kind of lets you know that if your score drops, you want to kind of know why, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you kind of want to know why. So it'll tell you like, it'll say like credit utilization is high. It'll tell you something like that. You'll be like, oh, okay, so that's why I dropped 20 points or 30 points or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah. So ultimately, that's what you would do. So now when you say, now if we get into the types of accounts, right? If we want to get into that, I don't know if we want to still be on the dispute side. We want to talk about the dispute side or what we do.
We could
Let's
let's
do
talk about the
dispute.
dispute side, then we can talk about the
the,
different
the, we're
types.
talking to the dispute side, then we'll go into what you can do to actually raise your score and help you, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So, naturally, with the dispute side, now, so say if you have a collections account and we're disputing with them, what we want to do is we want to write a letter to the collection agency and to
Mm-hmm.
either tell them like, this is not my account. I don't recommend really doing that. A lot of people preach that. I don't like that. I go straight to validate this account. I need you to validate this account, right? And I would say there's templates out there that you could get, but you could just write a regular letter. What you're gonna do with this letter, you're gonna put your information at the top, leave your social security off of it. Just put your first name, your address, your phone number you could possibly be reached. Then you put their company name, their address, the date, and then to whom it may concern. And then you just put X, Y, is come to my attention. This is just me going on the thread. It's come to my attention after looking at my credit report that you guys have account XYZ reporting on my credit file. I would like to ask you if you can please validate this debt because, to my knowledge, I do not own this debt. This is an assumed debt. Like this is not mine, right? So I would just send that to them. For the collection agency, I would not sign it. You just type your name at the bottom. Don't sign it because you don't want they shady. You don't want them ever to take your signature off of there, put it on shit.
Right.
Like you never want them today, and you never really trust them. So what you do with that, you send that over to them, send it certified, right? Some people like to send certified, some people don't. You can get things done without having it certified, but what you want to do is have a paper trail of when you send it and when they receive it. Because the clock starts as soon as they get it. So if they get it on the 10th, they have 30 days to bring back that information. If it's not back in that 30 days, it has to be removed by law. That's law. You have to take this off. So if I send that on the 10th, I'm going to wait 4 days and I'm going to send that same letter, but address it to whatever bureaus they're reporting to. Now, when I say whatever bureaus, is Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, right? Everybody doesn't report to everything. Right, so you may have for example, this is not true, but say Amex, right? Say your Amex card may only report to TransUnion, but not to Equifax and TransUnion. So you will only send that letter to TransUnion. Equifax and Experian have no idea what you're talking about. They're not even reporting that card or that debt or that collection agency. They're not even reporting it, right?
So do you find out in advance who they're reporting to, and then you
Right. So that's the thing about having identity IQ or smart credit, right? Because you're gonna
got you?
pull,
Yeah. So
right?
that's it's gonna
Yeah,
tell
right.
you right
It's
on
part of the
the
audit, right? It's gonna show you it's gonna be 3 rows. The 3 rows is gonna be each bureau. It's gonna go straight down. It's gonna tell you. Now, if that row is empty, that means they're not reporting to that credit bureau, right? But if it has some information there, that means that particular collection agency, credit card, mortgage loan, order loan, they're reporting to that bureau, right?
right.
So that's when you would send a dispute to that. You would after that you send the initial dispute to the collection agency. You wait 4 days, then you send that same letter to the credit bureaus. If it's all of them, you send the same letter to all of them. Now with the credit bureaus, you're going to send a valid identification and valid proof of address. That could be a bill, phone bill, credit card bill, whatever. Your driver's license. Along with that, now on there you put your social security number and you can sign that one because that's to the credit bureau.
Got you. And you rinse and repeat that same process for any type of dispute that you
Pretty much.
have. Obviously, there's different
Different
types of
type-
accounts. Some
Yeah,
say that
definitely
again.
different type of accounts. There's you have your collections, your charge offs. Um,
Right, and it's almost the same type of letter as well, from my
yeah, it's
understanding.
similar, just worded a
Um,
little bit differently. You're kind of
yeah,
you're
yeah, exactly.
addressing what you're going after.
Right, and basically just be consistent with the sending
Well,
part.
this is how it
You
goes.
know,
It's consistent with the sending, but you kind of this is why I never encourage disputing online because there's really no paper trail. Like there is, but it isn't. Now, if I send something certified, they're gonna send me a slip back in the mail telling me that they got it. So now, if this 30 days go by, I have heard no word from the collection agency, and I have heard no word from the credit bureaus. Now I will send a no response letter to the credit bureaus or informing the credit bureaus that this collection agency had their 30 days to do their due diligence and they did not. So why is it still on my credit report? Which means you are in violation of FCRA law now. Once you start speaking like that, you're gonna put you're gonna shake some trees because now they don't want to be sued now. Because check this out.
right.
Now that they did not validate that, So each line item, right? So say I think there's like 14, 15 lines on a particular account, right? Given all this information.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that they didn't validate that makes that information inaccurate information that they're reporting. You can sue for each line item, which is $1,000 each line. So they
Wow.
can owe you $14,000 for doing so, right?
That's
So
crazy.
once you start speaking like that, they'll be like, "Yeah, you know what? We're gonna remove this right now." And then now, as you got your paper trail, they be like, "Oh well, we never received it." Yes, you did, because it says here,
And you got the paper trail.
it says
You got
here
the
in the
proof, right? They
certified mail
received it
that
certified.
XYZ received it, and but
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, what people don't understand. See now, the collection agency probably somebody sitting in the office reading your letter, right? But with the credit bureaus, that's not the case. There's a computer reading your letter. It's e-Oscar
Ah.
reading your letters, right? So e-Oscar, a lot of times why a lot of people disputes don't get seen right away or handled properly is because the e-Oscar system is not recognizing anything, right? A lot of people just send disputes sometimes and they just say, "Yeah, this is inaccurate information," and you don't tell them what to do. Like, all right, it's inaccurate. What do you want us to do with it? Like, so they're not gonna
Right.
do anything because they don't know what to do. We just know it's
Mm-hmm.
inaccurate. So you have to be very clear on what you want them to do. This is inaccurate information. I want it removed immediately. You're in violation of my FCRA rights. I will,
Mm-hmm.
I will, I will. If this is not removed in the next 30 days, I will pursue legal action. But this could take a couple. This could take a couple rounds, right? This could take a
Right.
couple rounds. This man that so before you get to suing people, right, and going forth about that, you got to send a couple rounds. Like you got to send the first round, no response. Second round, no response. Third round, no response. And then about time the fourth round, now you're sending the letter for litigation. Right now we're about to go to litigation because clearly I know this is wrong. They didn't respond. You guys are still keeping this inaccurate information on. So now I want to sue you now because clearly you're not taking me
Mm-hmm.
seriously. But a lot of reasons why I say never to really use templates because a lot of templates get picked up by eOscar and they just push it to the side. Like, yeah, whatever.
Push it to the side. Got you.
Sometimes it's even better to
So
send your letter, send it in red writing or something like that because that will force a manual read. It will force a manual read.
So at the end of the day, you got these are more for disputes on, let's say, collection accounts, accounts that aren't with the company anymore. What
Oh,
about the 30-day
30 days late.
lates
All right.
and
So
stuff
this
like
is
that?
what I have a lot of, what I see a lot of people, they come to me with their accounts, they have a lot of late payments. So now if
Hmm.
you're riddled with late payments, my only advice that I give to any and everyone is we need to remove this whole account
Hmm.
because you cannot
Ah.
come to me with 30 late payments thinking that we're going to clear 30 late payments up. It's
Hmm.
possible. There's tactics that you can use to do it that I'm not going to do, but you can do it. But if you come to me with 30 late payments, we have to get this whole account removed, which means we have to start attacking the different line items. Now we have to.
So that's an extreme amount, obviously. What if somebody has, let's say, I don't know, two or three
All right.
30
So
day
now if you have
lates or
two
60
or
day
three,
late.
right? Now what we want to do is factor in how old is this account.
Mm.
So now if this account is a year old, we can try to get those off. But if not, if we could try to dispute and get those off, but outside of that, my next suggestion would be we're gonna probably have to need to remove this account. But now if this
Mm.
account is 15 years old and you got three late payments, say, spread out over the last 2 years, I would I would encourage you to keep it because
Mm.
you have 15 years worth of positive history and just a smidgen of negative
Hmm.
history. Now, if you remove that account, you're going to remove 15 years of history from your
Yeah.
credit, which is going to tank you. It's going to drop you. You're going to lose 15 years
Right.
because ultimately all your credit accounts are averaged out into an overall time. So they average
Right.
from your newest account all the way down to your lowest account, and then they average it out to what your overall credit age is. So you can have
Got
accounts
you.
from year one all of the year 20, but in the mix where that is, say it averages out to 6.5 years. That would be your credit age.
Hmm.
Even though your oldest card is 20 years, your credit age is 6.5 semi years.
Got you. So it doesn't make sense to try to remove a 30-day late. Just keep the accounts.
I mean, if you have one, I would just shoot and try to just say I would shoot a dispute and say I wasn't late this time. There must be a misconstrue. Or I would call up and be like, hey, listen, man, I've never been late. Could I double up payments? Could I send you 2 payments to remove that late payment? You just got to try to find ways to talk. A lot of things that people don't understand is you can just talk to these people. Some of them are just regular people. You can just talk to them and they'll figure something out with you. A lot of people don't know.
That's right, man.
When you're late on your phone bill, you can call them too and tell them, listen, man, I can't afford. I need you to remove that late payment. A lot of people don't know that when you go to the bank and you have overdraft fees and you do all this, you can call the bank and be like, hey, listen, I'm not paying those overdraft fees. They're going to remove them.
Mm-hmm.
Not as long as you're not consistently doing it, they're going to remove them. They're like, all right, cool. You know, you've been a valued customer. They don't want you to be in the sense of, oh, I feel like you're doing something funny. Even though overdraft fees are illegal, but I don't want to get into that. It throws us off.
Well, you said overdraft fees.
Overdraft fees are illegal. They're technically illegal. Yeah, they're technically illegal. So they're not even.
Wow, man. Let's talk about that.
It is.
I just learned something.
Right, I'm telling you, overdraft fees are illegal. They're not supposed to charge you. How are you charging me for money that I don't even have? That doesn't make sense. You can just decline the transaction. Why are you pushing the trend? You want to charge $3 to charge me $40? That makes no sense. That's illegal, bro. Like, how do you even do that when you can clearly just decline the transaction? You can just, you don't have no money, decline. Like, why are you approving it to charge me $40? So now when I call you and tell you I don't want, like, no, I'm not. I didn't agree to this. Like, how? Like, what? You could have just declined it. Why did you?
I heard a lot about like banks like Wells Fargo doing stuff like that, man. Where they charge excessive fees for. I'm not singling out Wells Fargo particularly. Yeah. I'm just saying I've heard through the grapevine that they do stuff like that, but I'm not sure if it's true or not. What do you think?
I think they all do shady stuff. It's just all about who you are as a consumer. See, that's a consumer issue too. You can complain about it. You can complain to the CFPB. They're charging me late fees. They're charging me excessive overdraft fees. They're charging, like, you can talk about that because that you can't do. Like, how you hit me with 10 overdraft fees in one day? You done mail my account overdraft for $500. Like, what? I didn't have any money. How do you expect me to give you $500 now when I didn't even have it? You could have just declined the transaction. It makes no sense. Why?
They charge you for declining the transaction too.
I never done with no bank that did that. I would hope not. That would be. I don't know. That would be crazy.
That is crazy. So what about these changing laws, man? There's a lot of changing laws in regards to credit. How does that affect somebody who, like, is it in the consumer's favor or is it in the is it kind of a mutual thing?
I think it's kind of I think it's kind of like balancing out, but the consumer will always be on top. It would all they're always going to be in the interest of the consumer because they don't want the consumer to get cheated, right? Because you got to think about we're dealing with these powerful corporations that can hire legal teams and do all types of, and just have their way with you at some point, right? Like the law about the medical debt, that's super good. Even though medical debt was already in violation of FCRA law because it's in violation of HIPAA. You cannot put my medical information on my credit report or say that I owe a debt off of a medical. So I go into the hospital, I don't pay the hospital. Y'all put that on my credit report. That is in violation of HIPAA law. You are putting my medical information and my medical privacy on. That's public information. You put it on my credit report. Now you made that information public. You can't do that.
Man, that makes sense, man. So basically, medical debt is not even supposed to be on your credit report. They put it on there anyway.
Yeah, they'll do it. That's why they kind of put this law out. That's why that law was passed not too long ago that all medical debt is going to be removed from credit reports and XYZ and the third because they know that these medical places, not only that, think about you don't have insurance, you go in there, you break it out.
Oh, they pull you. Man, look, they pull a fast one on people, man. They try to get you.
So now you owe the hospital $20,000, but you need your arm fixed. Now it's on your credit. Now your credit's ruined. Now you can't do nothing now. Like what? Like what's going on?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It just makes no sense.
It's crazy, man. So what are some of the things that people can do to build positive credit in addition to, obviously this is going to help their credit, but what are some of the things that they need to do in order to keep a
All right,
positive
positive credit
score?
score. What you want to do is always keep your utilization down low. Now, a lot of people say keep it under 30%, but I would not advise you to hover around 30%, right? Because if you're at 30% and you swipe your card one time and it goes over, now you're over 30%. Now you're considered high utilization, right? I would say a good spot is to be within 10% of your overall allowed credit, which means all your cards put together, you should be coasting at 10%, right? Now when you're trying to build credit, say you're trying to go for funding or things of that nature, you should be in between the 1% and 3%, right? So I don't know what those numbers equate to, depending on what you have. But if you had 10,000, you should be that's like 300 or 3,000 or something like that. 3%, no, 3% of 10,000 is like 300 or something like that. Yeah, $300. That's where you should be at on your card. Now, for us, like people who we want to use our credit to like invest in real estate and do things like that, which means we may have to max out our card at some point, or we may be using a very large balance in our card. Now we'll get into something called a statement date and a due date. They're two completely different things, right? And then when this comes into play of understanding how you can shift your balances around to different cards, so that it never reports to the credit bureau, so that your credit always looks strong. You always look strong on paper, right? But you can owe $20,000, but you always look strong on paper. They never see that you owe $20,000, right? So then that's what it gets into, like your lifestyle and what you like. So you have these cards that offer travel rewards, balance transfers, cash back. You have to kind of figure out what your lifestyle is. What your lifestyle is when it comes to those type of things. Me, I'm very big on balance transfer and travel points. I don't really care about cash back like that. Only card that I really see the benefit of cash back was the Apple card, because you get it instantly. I go in the store, I swipe it, the cash back is like right there, like you see it instantly. So I was like, all right, it makes sense. But what that is, so say now you have a due date this is just an example. Everybody's card is different, it's all different, right? So you have a due date that's the 14th, but you have a statement date that's the 12th, right? So say on this card you have a high utilization. Say your limit's 10,000. You're at 9,000 on this card, but you have another card that has a $20,000 limit, or even a $10,000 limit, for instance, right? Who has a statement date that's a little further out. Maybe the statement date is the 20th. What you want to do is now if that card allows you to balance transfer before the 12th, so you're going to balance transfer on around the 10th, or maybe even the 9th. I would initiate the balance transfer over to the other card with the later statement date, right? So now that's going to pay. They're going to pay that card off, switch the balance to the other card. And then now when that statement date comes, because the statement date is what reports to the credit bureaus, not your due date. Your due date is just the day that they want their money, but your statement date is the date that goes to the credit bureaus. So if you're carrying a high utilization on that date, that is what's going to report to the credit bureaus. So if you can transfer that balance before that statement date over to the other card, now when they report, it's going to say 0 on that card.
Yep.
And then right after that statement date, you can transfer it right back to that card if you want to. So when that next statement date comes, that card is going to report 0. So now the whole month went by, and it looks like I spent no money on any of my credit cards. Or I kept my utilization super low, but I owe $9,000. But they don't know that. They ain't none of their business.
That's crazy, man.
And listen, but that is completely nothing illegal about that. I'm just moving a balance to one card and moving it back. So that is not reporting to the bureau. So that my credit always looks strong. I always look strong on paper. So now if I need to go for funding and they look and they pull my credit, I'm still at a 750. I'm still at a 760. Yeah. I didn't drop 30, 40 points because I'm operating at a high utilization. Right?
So what about for people that destroyed their credit before? Let's say they're on their third round of trying to repair their credit. Is it tougher for them to repair their credit than somebody that throwing it out there because I'm there's all different types
Yeah,
of people listening to this
yeah, there's
podcast right now.
definitely
So I'm just trying to hit every
right.
angle.
So if you're a person who has terrible credit right now,
A history of terrible credit. You fixed it before, you destroyed it again, you fix it, you destroyed it
what you need to
again.
do.
Is it harder for them?
No, it's not harder. Like I said, it's all the same playing field. It's just about your discipline now, right? And how long are you willing to stick to this to get it corrected, right? So what you want to do first is start if you have negative credit, right?
So let's do that. Why don't we provide that particular person with a step-by-step
All right.
process?
So originally, what we want to do is what we want to see is this, right? Like I said in the beginning, we want to audit ourselves. We want to audit our personal information, any accounts, anything that we see is wrong and inaccurate on our credit profiles. Also, you guys who have like late payments, what a lot of people don't understand, like when you're looking at it, it's going to show you like it's going to be boxes showing all your payment. It's going to be like okay, and if you're late, it's going to say late. Not late. It's going to say like 30 days. Then the next month, it'll say 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, right? Now, what a lot of people don't understand is sometimes they say okay, 60 days, or okay, 90 days. That's inaccurate information.
That's inaccurate.
I
That's
cannot,
right. I have an identity IQ. I watch Identity IQ like a hawk myself, man.
I
So,
cannot be.
matter of fact, I'm gonna make sure I link these sites in the description box for you guys to be able to take advantage, and I'm gonna obviously link Ty's information in the description box for you guys as well to be able to reach out to him. But yeah, that was a good point right there. Okay, 60
Right.
and 90. You know that's
I
wrong
can't be late
information.
60 days in 1 month. Like that makes no sense. Like
Right,
that's
exactly.
inaccurate. Like you can't do that. Either you got to correct that completely, or you got to remove the account
Right.
completely. If that's what I want done at that point. So you want to go through each. First, you want to correct your personal information, dispute that, make sure that's all corrected out. Make sure you have one name, one address. I personally remove all previous addresses because I don't want any. Those previous addresses are connected to something.
Just remove them
Remove.
all.
I would, me personally. I'm not saying that everybody has a method to their madness, right? Me personally, I want it to be all unisync and in sync. I remove. So I remove all aliases. I remove all previous addresses. I only have one primary address on my credit report. I remove if you have your middle initial reporting on there. I remove my middle initial as well. Right. This makes your disputing process easier. So now, if you clear all that up, now you look at all your negative items, negative accounts, late payments, things of that nature. You see what you want to attack first. You attack your collections, your charge offs. You attack all this stuff. I would not dispute technically five. I would not do more than five to six items on one letter. Because you write your one letter, you can itemize them out. Like you put the account number.
You wouldn't separate them to keep them.
No, I mean
keep them.
you can, but that's just going to be a lot more work for you, right? I'm not saying that's not.
It doesn't
Really matter which way
to
to go because if I put this dispute and I have 5 accounts on here that I want to dispute, they're all collections accounts. I'm gonna itemize them. Line one, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. I'm gonna put the company name, the account number, and what my complaint is about this. Right. If not my overall heading, whatever it's saying, I came and I saw inaccurate information on my credit report after I pulled my report. Down below, I'm going to reference the accounts that are inaccurate and need to be verified.
And this is all going to the
That's going to the credit bureaus. Now
so you don't send anything to the company.
No. So if it's collections, you're going to send the letter to them first. But those are going to be individual letters. You're not going to itemize those with those. So if you owe T-Mobile $500, you're going to send T-Mobile a letter, a separate letter, certified. Then if you owe, say, RNG collection agency, you're going to send RNG a collection agency stating the account number that you're referencing and telling them to validate this account. Those are all going to be.
So we're talking.
Those are.
With this, we're talking about a 30-day late.
This is whatever you're disputing with them. Whatever you're disputing.
Okay,
and then what I mean, whatever you're disputing means So if you do know that this is your account and you know that you were late, or you know that you just want to get rid of this account, you can start disputing the line items that are on the account, the open date, the status, because it could say close, open, I forgot. I think it's close or open or something like that. Certain accounts can't report a certain type of way. But you got close, open. You could do that. You could do the amount that they're saying that you owe. You know, they're saying that you owe them $700 when in fact you owe them $600. That's inaccurate. You can't tell me, like, how do I owe you that? Explain that to me.
Sometimes the collection agency will add fees on top of it
Right.
as well. So
What,
like how so you
what
would
makes
dispute
that
that
inaccurate?
basically.
First of all, if it's a collection agency, I never did business with you. This account is invalid anyway. This is invalid anyway because I
Right.
never did business with you. So you have to remove this. And maybe some of these collection agencies out here are really like tough, like they hard to fight. Like you don't have to go through a couple disputes, couple of rounds with them. This is not, like I said, it's a marathon. It's not something that you're gonna get done in 30 days. This is not a 30-day thing. This may take you 6 months to a year to get done. Like it took me a year and like 2 months to get my credit where I wanted it to be. All right,
Mm.
things were a lot easier then than they are now, but we're getting
Because of the changing
the
laws and
laws
everything.
and certain services that you had access to, right? Which we'll talk about in the part 2, build positive credit. Now we'll talk about that next. So now for this person, what they would do that, and then they would dispute these people. They would dispute with these people. I recommend certified mail so that you keep a record of your disputes and when they got them, so that when that 30 days pass, you can reach back out to them, send another letter if it hasn't been removed. That way, now you have a paper trail. So now, if they're not doing what you need them to do, now you can file a dispute with the CFPB, explaining to them that now you're gonna get the CFPB all this information that you done sent to these people, because you're gonna give them the letters,
Right.
the certified mail receipts. You're gonna give them all. It's like, listen, they received all this stuff, and they're still reporting inaccurate stuff on my credit bureau. They're violating my rights. I've proven to them countless times what they did wrong. Now, when you send in a letter, so if you're disputing something late, like say if it's an example of how I just gave you that 60 days late in 1 month, right? You can take a copy of your credit report that you're sending to the credit bureau, highlight it, circle it, write "this is what I'm talking about" right on it, and send that along with it.
Make it
Right,
obvious.
and
Yeah.
send that with your credit. Send that with your dispute letters too, so they know exactly what you're talking about. This is inaccurate. I cannot be late 30 days. This is inaccurate. Can you please straighten this out? Could you please mark this as okay? Tell whatever you want to tell them. You have to give them the instruction on what you want them to do, because they are in violation at that point. This is wrong. You cannot do that. So they're gonna ultimately what they're gonna do. They're gonna reach out to what they're gonna do. I'm gonna tell you what usually happens. They're gonna reach out to the original creditor. So say if it's Capital One and you're saying you wasn't late, they're gonna reach out to them and they're like, well, this person is saying that you said that it was late 60 days in March, right? What's this about? So they might come back and say, all right, that was a error on our part. They may come back and just mark it okay, like, all right, he wasn't late. But they might come back and say he was late 30 days.
Correct it. Yeah.
So we're gonna correct it. We're gonna
Right.
all right. We said 60. My bad. We're gonna correct it. So it was 30 days now. But that could cause a trickling effect for all the other ones. So you said I was late. So all right, if I was late 90 days in March, you got me marked as. So now it's gonna cause a trickle effect for the rest of them. So now you got to correct all of that now, right? You just can't correct that one piece because
And it just
it's gonna
creates more
create more
work.
work. So it's 9 out of 10 it's just better for them just to mark it all okay, like whatever. 'Cause
Okay.
now we might be in some mess now because we already did something wrong. So either one or two things gonna happen. Either we're gonna just remove this whole account, or we just gonna have to make these corrections. We ain't gonna get this one. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I've seen people get stuff deleted from their credit, but they still
Oh
owe
yeah,
the
you
debt.
definitely do. A lot of people feel that just because it comes off my credit, I don't owe the debt. Yes, they can still sue you. They can still do that. All right,
Yeah.
another thing for that same person too. The next thing I almost forgot to even mention this. You have to understand your statutes of limitation in each state that you're in. Each state has a different statute of limitation, right, on when a creditor can sue you. So what you don't want to do is, if you have, say, for instance, in New York, I think we're at 6 years, something like that now. No, I think they knocked it down to 3 years now, as a matter of fact, in New York, right? Could be wrong. I'm sorry, it changes up a lot. So, say for instance, in New York, I believe we're 3 years, right? So, a debt collector or original credit has up to 3 years to sue you for any debt that you have out with them. So, if you owe them $5,000 and you're at 2.5 years and they have not proceeded to try to sue you yet, leave it alone. Do not dispute it. Do not send them any letters. Do not bother them. Because if you bother them, you're going to wake up a giant. And be like, oh, we forgot you owed us 5,000. Guess what? Yeah, we're going to take you to court. Because now they're within.
This is not past the 3 years.
Not. This is if you're in within that 3 year window. Every state is different.
Right.
So you have to look up your statute of limitations in your state.
We forgot to sue you.
Yeah, we forgot to, exactly. We forgot to sue you. Thank you for reminding us. Right? Thank you for reminding me. I'm gonna.
But after that,
you're dead in the water. Technically, you can send it. You can send a letter to the credit bureaus telling them that they're out of the statute of limitation and this needs to be removed from your credit review. Right? So that's an easy way. Like a lot of people who got a lot of old debt, they just got old debt sitting around that's sitting on their credit that should have been removed a long time ago because it's outside the statute of limitations. They can't even sue you for it now. So why is it still here? But
and sometimes they slap a lien on your house. That's only valid for a certain amount of time as well. You can get that removed, but they can always renew a lien though.
But also, what people have to be very careful when these debt collectors call you. Don't be afraid to speak to them, but do not verify anything on the phone with them. You are being recorded at all times. Do not validate anything. Even if they call and ask you your name, do not validate it. You are calling me. You should know who it is.
So how would you approach
if there's any debt that you feel that I know if there's any assumption that I owe a debt to this company, please forward it to me in writing. I do not want any communication over phone. Everything needs to be sent to me.
So don't even, they say, am I speaking to Ty?
I don't know who you're talking to. You call me.
Oh,
do you live at so-and-so address? Do you live at so-and-so address? I don't know. You call me. I don't know you from a can of paint. Why am I verifying anything on the phone with you? I don't know who you are. What they're doing is recording you, and now they're going to start validating that debt. Because now, check, he said it's him. So this is him. Up, check, this is his phone number. Check, this is his address. We're validating you. From the first point of contact, we're validating you.
And these are just for the collection agencies. Obviously, if you have an open account with somebody, and they
So now, this is Capital One calling you, like, hey, you missed your payment last month. Like, it's all right, Capital One, my bad. I'm about to see you. Yeah. It's my bad, right? It's my bad. It's not. It's only for people that you don't know and you haven't done business with. Especially as soon as they get on the phone, they have to notify. They have to let you know that they're a collection agency, right? And they cannot use like any government markings or any form of a peace officer, or they can't come as some sort of authority, a government official. They can't, like, even if they send you a letter and it has like government like logo something on there, you can sue them for that.
I honestly think that, especially these days, I think collection agencies are starting to wind down a little bit. I could be wrong, but they just don't. I don't know. I haven't had a collection issue.
Wow.
But the whole point is, I think that they're not as aggressive as they
are. They really are, man. They are. You didn't see the law. They just passed a law where they can start messaging you on Facebook and stuff.
Wow.
So think about how aggressive. Think about how aggressive that is. You just chilling and you get a message from a random person just talking to you and like, hey, yeah, you owe us a debt. Like, that's kind of crazy. That's like, whoa, hold on. Like, you didn't even come to me as a company. You just came to me as a regular person. Now you in an attempt to collect the debt, yada, yada, yada. And think about how much information you have out on the internet where people could use that to validate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, listen, guys, this is all stuff that you got. Again, we spoke about this already in the beginning. This is all stuff that you need to be doing. I know, a percentage of you are going to have some of these things happening to you right at the moment. Information is great, but action is what's going to take you to where you want to be. So you got to not only listen to what Ty is talking about, but you got to get out there and actually do this stuff, right? Don't be afraid to, or you can have him do it for you. You know what I mean? Now, Ty, if they wanted to reach out to you, how would they
Right
do that?
now, you would go to my Instagram page and click on, I believe it's a link or view more or something like that, and it should have something there for you
Mm-hmm.
to book a consultation, and then you would schedule it. It's like a calendar there. You would schedule a time slot, and I would call you at that time slot. And at that point, we would go through a pretty much an audit to even see if you need credit repair. Because a lot of people think they need credit repair, and they don't. They just have no credit. Like, you just have no credit. You don't need any repair. There's nothing wrong with your credit. You just don't have any credit. So at that point, I would advise you on steps to start building your credit up, or how to add some positive accounts or positive things to your credit to actually start getting a foothold in the credit game.
All right, so I'm gonna link Ty's information in the description box. I mentioned that before, but let's talk a little bit about um because I recently met somebody. It's the first time in my life. I'm 41 years old. First time in my life I've ever heard somebody say I don't have any credit, and they really didn't have any credit. So what would you talk? What would you tell that person? To me, having no credit is better than
Right.
having bad credit, but at the same time, because you start with a clean slate. So how would you what would you tell that person in order to have them start
All right.
building their
What you want
credit
to
up?
do is start establishing primary accounts on your profile. Right. So if you have no credit, your best thing to do is go for a secure credit card. So now,
Mm-hmm.
how a secure credit card works, um, you apply, you send them a certain amount of money. Some of them will let you send however much you want. Some of them automatic, like say for instance, Capital One. As soon as you apply, they kind of give you like a minimum, right? So say if you have no credit or your
Mm-hmm.
credit is like subpar, you have no negatives on it per se, right? They may be like, yo, send us $49 and we're gonna issue a $200 secure credit card, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is you keep good standings with them for 6 months to a year, and they turn that credit card into an unsecured credit card at
Unsecured,
that
yeah.
point. I don't necessarily, anybody that I deal with, I don't recommend doing like $200. I kind of want you to do 500 and above. I usually tell people put like 1,000,
Mm.
$1,500 on a secure credit card, because you don't want your DTI to get crazy. $200, you swipe the
Mm-hmm.
card one time, you already going crazy. Like, your utilization is already up extremely high just off the strength of that, right? I wouldn't say go crazy with secure credit cards. I would say get two, at most three. Really not two. Let me stick to one. Get two
Mm-hmm.
secure credit cards. I would say at most put $1,000 on each one of them, right? You want to do that because you also want to make yourself competitive, right? Because you don't want to have a bunch of 200, 300, $500 credit cards on your profile, and then when you try to go for some real financing or you want better limits, they're gonna look at who's your highest limit. If your highest limit
Mm.
is $500, they gonna be like, all right, well, I'm gonna give you 10,000 if your highest credit card is $500. Banks are competitive. They're
Mm-hmm.
competitive like that. They're gonna look at stuff like that and see that, right? Next, a lot of people like to. I'll mention it. I don't really care for it. Self is a website called Self. You can get like they give you like a secure it's similar to a secure credit card, but it's like a secure loan. You pay them monthly
Mm.
to pay into a CD that they have for you, and at the end of paying that, they give you like the money back. But it reports as an installment loan. So what I want everybody to
Gotcha.
understand is things report differently, and they yield different results. So
Mm.
mortgages, auto loans, and things of that nature are considered installment loans. Even a loan that you get from the bank, say you go to the bank, you take it out 10,000, that's considered an installment loan, right? So you have installment loans, and then you have revolving credit. Revolving credit is the biggest factor in building credit. It is what will impact your credit the most,
Mm-hmm.
month in and month out, because it's the credit that can be paid down and used again, and paid down and used again. So that's why if your utilization is high, that is going to affect you. So if you have $20,000, if overall you have $20,000 in revolving credit and you're maxed out on $20,000, your credit is going to tank. But if you have a $500,000 mortgage and you're paying that consistently, you're fine. It's not gonna
Right.
affect your credit score, right?
But if you're
Your
late on
late on
that
that mortgage
mortgage,
is gonna affect you for sure. Your late on that
yeah.
car note
And
is
and
gonna
those
affect you.
those could be pretty hard to get off
Right.
too.
Very hard to get off. Right. So now your revolving credit are your credit cards, your lines of credit. These are things that every month they replenish. Or per se, you can replenish them. So if you pay it down, you got the same 20,000 to spend again this month if you paid it off. Or you
Mm-hmm.
have, to some certain extent of it to use each and every month. So with self, as I was saying, you can get self, you can use it, but it's going to report as an installment loan. You do need a mix of credit. You don't want to just have a whole bunch of credit cards and never had an auto loan,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
I think installment loans are a little easier to get as well.
right, to an
You know what I
extent,
mean?
if you don't have credit, they can be hard because installment loans consist of loans from the bank, your mortgages, your auto loans, and things of that nature. Those are installment loans, which means they're kind of looking at your credit history to see if you can even afford
Mm-hmm.
this type of loan and see if you can afford these terms and things of that nature. It's all underwriting stuff. I don't really know much about underwriting. I'm not an underwriter,
Yeah.
but they look at that kind of stuff, but they factor in that type of stuff. So they see that you've had good credit history and you manage your revolving credit for months and years on time. They're like, all right, your credit, you're responsible. In our eyes, you're financially responsible.
What about like piggybacking off
We
of
can get
somebody
into that
else
too.
with good
So
credit?
a lot of people, there was a trend of this. Probably still is a trend of trade lines. Is what people call them. You go to trade line brokers and things of that nature. I personally don't care for trade line brokers because you have a window to operate and get done what you need to do. So say you go to a trade
Right.
line broker and they're like, yo, we'll add this trade line onto your credit for 3 months. So now you got 3 months to try to figure out whatever you want to do or bust a move or try to go get finance and da da da. And then it's like, boom, if you don't get whatever you need done in that 3 months, now you got to go back to them and either pay them again for the same trade line to keep it on or pay them an
Mm.
extra fee to keep that trade line going on for the next few months.
What were they charging for stuff like that?
It can be anywhere as cheap as $500 all the way up to 6,000, 7,000. I even seen like 10,000.
Mm. I never even heard of it. That's crazy.
Right. So even like now, like that's an actual business. Like if you have good credit cards, you can broker out your credit card to add people on there for a fee. Like so say if you got
Mm-hmm.
$25,000 credit card and you got over 4.5 years, 5 years, that's considered, a healthy account, right? I can add somebody on there and be like, yeah, I'm gonna charge you $2,000 to add you onto my thing, and I'm gonna keep you on there for 6 months. After 6 months, I'm gonna drop you off. Now, how that works is you never get the card; it just reports to your credit. So now, what a lot of people misconstrue about piggybacking is you can't have bad credit and then start piggybacking. It does not work that way. It's not. It's not really going to take that big of an effect. It's not going to give you that the increase that you're looking for. Like if you think you're going to jump 100 points, 200 points, it's not going to happen, right? You may jump maybe 20, 30 points, but I don't really think $2,000, $3,000 is worth 20, 30 points when you can get a secure credit card
Mm-hmm.
and get the same results, right? It's going to pretty much give you the same type of. It's new credit. It's going to give you the same thing. Well, take that back.
Right.
It's new credit. It may give you. It's going to give you good results, but that age, you also get the age from those cards too, right? So say if it's 20 years,
Mm.
you're inheriting that 20 years of history to your credit as well. The banking models kind of changed it once they see everybody start getting hip to that. So the authorized user thing doesn't really. It helps, but it doesn't help how it used to help back in the day. So for instance, I
What if
bet.
somebody?
Yeah,
What
yeah,
were
I
you
want
gonna
to
say?
finish that. My best advice on it is if you have a relative, girlfriend, friend, I'm kind of strong, girlfriend, boyfriend who has superior credit, they have good credit history, good credit cards, they're very responsible. I encourage you to ask them to add you onto it. If you even have a parent who has very good credit, I encourage you to ask them to add you to their credit card because now, for one, you didn't have to pay no crazy fee to get added onto their credit card, and you could be on there indefinitely. Like they're not gonna be like, "Yeah, I'm about to take
Yep.
you off." Like whatever, you had 6 months.
You go offer to pay their bill for them.
I
You know what
mean,
I mean?
ultimately,
Something like
it
that.
doesn't cost them anything because guess what? They're
Right.
adding you, but you're never getting a car. So it's not like you're gonna get a car and you're gonna go
Right.
max out the car. Like you're never getting the car.
The way to me, the best way to do that is to say, look, add me to the card. I'll pay the bill, and then I don't need the card.
I mean,
So
yeah, there's ways
I'm gonna,
about it to coach people into it, but you got to think. Usually,
yeah,
people like
yeah,
that with really good credit like that, there's really no bill to pay. They not
that's
even
right.
they not using their card. They're not maxing it out. There's nothing really. It's really nothing. Really, you just
Yep.
gotta kind of like tell them what it is. But what that entails helps you with now when you're ready to go apply for credit. Now, say you got the $20,000 credit card on your profile. Now, when you apply for something, the bank is gonna see that he has a $20,000 credit card. Hold on, I want him to spend my 20,000. So give him 25,000. We gonna give him $25,000 credit card and give him a lower interest rate and see if he uses our card. Because now it's gonna become competitive. That's how these people get up to
Right.
50, 60, 70, 80, 90,000, 100,000 in revolving credit cards. You know what I'm saying? So
Crazy.
if
Yeah.
you continuously do that, and then once you get these credit cards, you can I encourage you to every 3 months ask for a credit limit increase. Because you don't got to keep applying for credit cards. Because you got to also understand you get an inquiry every time you get dinged, right?
Hmm.
So if you get too many inquiries, you start looking desperate to lenders. They're like, "What's going on financially with you that you're trying to get all this, you know, all this credit, or what's
Right.
going on?" So you should kind of every 6 months you should be like applying for credit. But in those 6 months, if you're for the credit cards that you do have, if you're asking for credit limit increases, you might get them, you might not. They don't always give them to you. Sometimes they do. Like Capital One is really hard to get credit limit increase. They kind of want to do their own thing, right?
Should you get inquiries removed off of your credit
Yes, if they weren't authorized,
if they're
inaccurate, if they
inaccurate?
weren't authorized by you, yes, I would completely get those removed. Especially like if you go to like some of these card, right? Most people, I'm gonna tell you right now, do not go to a car dealership and let them run your credit. They are
Oh
going
my
to
goodness,
they
man,
are
they the
going to
worst.
run your credit to every lender in their region to try to get you a loan. They are not for you. They are
Yep.
not in the interest of you. You got to understand these are salespeople. They are trying to get you a deal so that they can get paid. They don't care how much you have to pay for the deal, right? What you do is go to your credit union or your local bank and apply and try to get an auto loan through them, get a pre-approval through them, and then go to the dealership. That way you know how much you qualify
Yep.
for a car, what you can qualify for, and what the bank is willing to give you. So now when you go in
Right.
there, also don't be gullible and just be like, "Hey, yeah, I got a pre-approval for $40,000." Da 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 da. No, you don't just go in there like that. What you do, you go there, you look at some cars, you kind of negotiate your prices and see what you want, and then if that price is right, they get everything out in writing, and you be like, "All right, cool, we got this in writing, so I can get this car for 30,000. You see, you got a pre-approved for 40,000. Well, I got a pre-approved for 40,000. We got this right in for 30. So cool. Now we know where we stand at this. Like, if you tell them you got approved for
Hmm.
40, they gonna try to milk. They want the whole 40.
They want to get you. They want
Right? They
all
want the
40,
whole
man.
40. Right? Pre-approval does not mean that you have to use the whole 40,000. If you can get it for
Right.
cheaper, why not? You're gonna pay less. You're gonna, everything's gonna be. It's gonna work out in a better fashion for you. Um,
That's right. That's right, man.
Um, next, what I was saying too before, I wouldn't say before the pandemic, a little bit before that, it was a little bit easier because what people misconstrue is they feel that if I have bad credit, I can't start building up my credit score with bad credit, right?
Negative.
So I'll give you an example with myself. I had foreclosure, I had two child support cases on there that was reported negative. I had about I want to say three collection accounts on there. Um, Before the pandemic started, we had like these merchant accounts that you could get completely legal, nothing illegal about them. You go to the store, you spend $100, they give you a credit line of 5,000, 10,000, $15,000, right? Now there were multiple stores like this. So if you had a
Hmm.
little bit of money, say you had a little extra $1,000 to throw around, right? You go to these stores and open up five accounts, right? And before you know it, you'll have $50,000 worth of revolving credit in 1 month. So now you could have took your score from being in the low 500s to a mid 600s in a month. Because now
Hmm.
your debt to income is so much higher now. Like not your debt to income. Your debt to income is so much lower. Your utilization is
Utilization.
so much lower now because now you have a revolving credit of 50,000, but you only using 500. So now they're looking like, yeah, he got negatives and stuff on there, but your score is still going up. So now you outweigh the negative with a bunch of positive. That's how credit works too. If I could outweigh a lot of this negative with more positive, and now as I'm working on removing the negative, the positive is just going to shine so much brighter, and my score is just going to start jump. That's when people see these big jumps like 80s, 90s, 110, 120, because you already added all the positive. So now once you start removing those collections and stuff start falling off, your score starts to jump drastically. It's like now you have no negative. Now you got so much positive that the negative doesn't even really matter at this point anymore.
Is it smart for somebody to delete everything that's on their history except the positive stuff and then start all over?
Again, it depends on where you at. It depends on
where
where you're at in your life, right?
Sure.
Because deleting everything is like starting all over. So you're gonna be like a clean slate. I don't really recommend it because everything doesn't necessarily need to be deleted, right? Some things just need to be corrected. Like you need to get your utilization down. A lot of people have bad credit because their utilization is super high. They never had a late payment in their life, but they're like, why are my scores not going up? Your utilization is in 120%. Like your cars are maxed out. Like that's why your score is the way it is. You understand? So utilization is like the top reason why people credit is bad. Like one of the top reasons that people have think they have bad credit when they really don't. I pull your report, your utilization is at 120%. It's like you don't have no collections, you have no judgments, you have none of this stuff on your credit, you never filed bankruptcy, you don't have no foreclosures, your utilization out the window. If you pay all this debt off, your credit is going to go up.
So the average person with bad credit that you work with, when they're done, what's their credit usually looking like score-wise?
Score-wise, I want to say, see, everybody's different because everybody's profile is different. So I can't say like, yeah, you work with me, you're gonna be at because you got to understand, you got to add your.
I totally understand that part. I'm just saying, like, what's I guess the real question is, what's realistic for somebody to expect?
Realistic for somebody to expect. All right, see, I want to answer this question as clear as possible. Your expectation should be to get all your negative items removed, right? And if you follow what I'm telling you, what the problem is, a lot of people don't follow what you're telling them to do because they listen to a whole bunch of noise and they try tricks. If you follow what I'm telling you, you should be mid 700s to low 700s, right? You should be in that area because you got to understand what people don't understand is just because you remove negative things does not mean your score is going to go up. When you remove negative things, 9 times out of 10 your score is going to drop because you're removing the history with that. So if you even though that account is negative, it got 15 years worth of history. You remove it, you lose that 15 years of history, which means now when we go back to our square, our circle of how your credit is calculated, you got utilization, mixed use, the mixed uses of accounts, utilization, payment history, and I believe I want to say your increase. Yeah, your increase. So that's 5, right? So it's all broken down into a pie, right? So all that's a factor. So now if we go into your credit age, that the section of your credit age, how we spoke, where you have an account that's 1-year-olds and 20-year-old, those negative accounts are factored into that as well. So as you remove those, it changes your overall credit age now. So say you removing those collections accounts that have been on your credit for 6-7 years, that's going to change the average now. So say now your average credit was 6.5 years, now you down to 3.5 years. So now you're looking like a newbie with credit. Because your overall is like 3.5 years. You don't start looking really good until you're around that 4.5 year, 5 year mark of credit. Then they like, all right, yeah, you're responsible. You didn't have credit for some time. We like to give you a lot of money now. Like we can give you higher limits. Not saying that you can't jump out the window and get a $10,000 credit card off the gate. Everybody's different. Everybody's profile is different.
Everybody's situation is different.
It's not a cookie cutter. Nobody's the same. Like you can have somebody who has a collection account that take you 6 months to get off, and you got somebody with 10 that you can get off in 2 months. Everybody's different. Like everybody file is different. Everybody dispute time is different. Everybody dispute process is different, right? So it's no one one size fits all. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
Not with credit.
Right.
That's why I try to stress a lot with like how people say things on social media. It's not. It's so not like that. And I get a lot of
Man, I try to do the same thing with the real estate, man. I'm trying to, you guys listening to this podcast, you know exactly what I'm like. If you listen to any of my podcasts, watch any of my videos, I'm 100% real with you. I'm not here to sell you fluff. I'm here to tell you what the truth is, what to expect, and ultimately help you think long term when you come into this business. Same thing with credit. You got to think long
her.
term. Like Todd said earlier, you build 10 years of bad credit. Don't expect to fix it in
It's
30
not gonna,
days. You know what I mean?
not legally.
Same thing with the
Right.
real estate, right? You can't you've been broke your whole life. Don't
Right.
expect to be getting rich in
It's not
30
gonna happen.
days. It
It ain't
ain't
gonna
gonna
happen.
happen. It
It
ain't
took
gonna
me.
happen,
It took me
right?
what 4 months to make 15,000. Right. It's
Hmm.
gonna
Yeah,
take
it takes
time
time.
because you
It
gotta
takes
learn different
time.
crafts. Like you gotta understand. You gotta learn how
That's
to
right,
market.
man.
You gotta know how to. Then you gotta know how to. You gotta have people skills. You gotta know how to talk to people. You gotta know how to.
Hmm.
You gotta learn how to persuade people.
Everybody's situation is different. Everybody's level is different where they at in their life right now. So like you can't compare yourself to somebody if they got a check in 30 days. Maybe their communication skills is
Right.
just better, right? Maybe they trust me. People have skills that they're utilizing in order to
Right.
get these checks, right? Quicker. Sometimes people just
Right.
don't have it. You might not have that
Mm-hmm.
same skill, so you got to expect a longer time frame, right? Somebody's hustle might be
Some
different
people got
than
to get the
yours.
jab. Some
Some,
people just know how to talk.
gift the gab. You know what I mean? I know I was, before I got into real estate, I was on Wall Street and I knew how to talk to people before I came
Right.
into the business. And it still took me 13 months to make that $1,500. You know what I mean? So like you gotta really everybody's situation is different. And you just gotta look at where you are and you gotta be willing to work. That's it. If you're willing to put in the time, everything materializes
Right.
over time. Time fixes everything. You just got to
Right.
give it time, and that's
And
it, right? So there's
and
plenty.
you can't be thinking about the money that you ain't getting. You
Right,
can't think about that.
right, exactly. You counting the
Before
money
the end of
before
the
it even
day, you
hit the
can't
bank
do that.
account.
You just got to go through the
You
motions.
know,
And same thing with credit. You
that's
can't
right.
think about the high credit limits and I can do this and I'm gonna be able to do that before you even put in the work.
Yep,
Put the work in. It's all going to
yep.
pan out. And then when it hit, you can be like,
It's gonna pan out.
cool. Anything that come too fast ain't right. Yeah, yo, I'm telling you, it's really true with credit too. Like if you can fix your credit in 30 days and now you out here running around with 50,000, 60, $70,000 worth of revolving credit, you didn't build up to that. You don't know how to manage that now.
Yeah,
Or you're gonna find yourself is in $60,000 worth of debt. That's what you're
that's
gonna do.
right. That's right, man. Yo, so I mean, this has been a fantastic podcast, man. We on this thing for 90 minutes already, 90
Right,
plus
right.
minutes already, and absolutely killing it. We could go on and on and on talking about this information. I would love to have you back on another podcast, man. Maybe we could talk about dig. I know we dug deep into into
Right.
challenging stuff, but maybe we could talk about build more on building positive credit on that side of things on a secondary podcast. If you guys want to see that, let me know in the comment section. Just say second podcast or just say build credit. Let's use that one. Build credit in the comment section if you wanna have Ty back and have him talk about some ways to build more positive credit. Now we talked about piggybacking. We talked about secure credit cards and things like that. But maybe we could dig a little deeper into some of these. If you guys want to see that once again, leave a comment in the comment section that says build credit. And we'll have Ty back as soon as possible. But in the meantime, definitely check him out on his Instagram. I'm going to link that in the description box. All of the resources that we discussed going to be in the description box below for you as well. Make sure you check those out. In the meantime, Ty, what books can our listeners tap into right now? Like, what are you reading, or is there a particular book that you would recommend for them to get started with as far as
Oh,
credit
credit
repair?
repair.
Well,
Well,
anything.
yeah,
It doesn't
credit
have to be
repair. Like
credit
I
repair.
would, my ebook is it's finished. It's just not out for you to buy it yet. Kind of helps you, but it'll be up there soon. The link will be up there for you to get it.
Got you.
I would look at
I'm going to put a coming soon link in the description box for Ty's book for you
right.
guys as
I
well.
would, I would, I would, I would go after books that are personal development. Like I'm reading currently. I think everybody should read like the Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think everybody should read that. I think everybody should read
Hmm. That was the first book I ever read
Right,
from
right.
cover to cover, man.
Listen. Me too.
98
As an adult, that was the first book I ever read.
in high
Yeah, me
school.
too. I definitely like the book. What is it called? What is it? Man. Um, I said 4 hour work week. I think everybody should read that. You should learn.
Yeah,
You should learn how to
I read that.
delegate tasks because everything we get in this mindset and feel like we need to just be doing everything ourselves. When in all reality,
Hmm.
grunt work you should be paying people to do grunt work, even if it's like little tasks that you just all
Hmm.
make your life less stressful. Like you can pay somebody to make your life less stressful. You don't have to be a multi-millionaire to
That's right.
actually get that type of stuff done. Outside of that, I'm reading more like more social science type of books currently right now. I'm like
Okay.
one is The Devil We Know, The Devil We Know, stuff like that. Just different things, right? I like to have my mind a little bit more. I like to be more in tune with things so I can analyze and see things for what they are. I'm very much that type of person.
Got you.
I'm also very like I want to learn a skill and I get into learn that skill. Compound
Got
effect
you.
is not like a social book, but that's also a thing to teach you how to compound on your
Hmm.
success. Compound with saving. It just teaches you different. Yeah,
Compound interest, stuff
but
like
that
that.
also works with success too. The same thing how we talking
Hmm.
about credit repair. You have day one. Day one is gonna feel hard, but day 90 is going to feel like a cakewalk. You don't know where you're going to be at day 90. Now
Hmm.
you count compounding off of all that previous success. Now, as I said before, as you start building the positive credit, and you then start taking off that negative, it's going to be a compound effect of success now because all that negative is going down. You're going to just rise to the top because all the negative weight is not holding you down anymore. They-
The hardest part is always getting
Right,
started, man. That's the
right.
hardest part of
You have to.
anything, right? Gotta the hardest part in walking when you're a baby. The hardest part in walking is learning how to crawl and taking that first step. You're gonna fall, right? But you got to keep getting back up, and that's what we forget as adults. We forget to keep getting
Mhm.
back up. Like when we were kids, getting back up and falling again was common, right? But as an adult, you scared of
Right.
falling, and you feel like when you get back up, you scared to fall again, right? So you just got to take the first step. It's going to be hard, but guess what? Walking gets easier the more you do it. So you just got
Before
to
you
do
walk,
it,
before that, before you
right?
know, you be
And
running.
that's right. It gets easier over time. You be
Right.
riding bikes, be running on the treadmill, all of that stuff before you know it. So if you had to provide our listeners with some last words of advice, what would those
Those words would
words
be
be?
live life fearless. Do what you need to do now for so that you can enjoy the things of later, right? I was very losing my son. I've always knew that. He spoke very big. He had a very he was way before his time. Like you would speak to this little kid and you'd be like, been here before. So he always told me to like live in the moment that we in now, have fun now, but do what you need to
Mm-hmm.
do now because what are we waiting for? You know what I'm saying? So you
Mm-hmm.
apply that to everything. Try to apply that to everything in life that you do. Stop sitting on the sideline procrastinating. You want a certain type of life? Go after that. Do that. Don't just sit there waiting.
And
Sit
just
there waiting for somebody to hand it to you, or like people who are motivated and go getters, right? Nobody likes the person that just
mm-hmm.
sits there and always down and kicking themselves for the situation that they probably put themselves in, right? So you got to get up and get to it. That's just it. Nobody's coming to save any of us. We all gotta be here. Everybody's going through stuff, right? So you gotta kind of like get up and do what you gotta do and be on your job about your business. It's not for everybody.
That's right.
Whether it's business, building your credit, fixes everything in this world. There's workers, and then there's people who the workers work for, right? And that's just it. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm.
But don't complain about the situation that you're in when you have the consciousness and ability to change that. Everybody does.
That's right. Love it, man. Good stuff. Now you mentioned a couple of things, man. You mentioned choices. Everybody
Right.
has a choice, right? You can choose to do or not to do, and obviously that's going to affect where you end up, right? So everybody's choices lead them to the person that they
Right.
are today, right? You mentioned your son. Your son. I think he recently turned 11,
Yeah, he
something
would have
like
been
that.
11 then. Well, he would be 11 now. On June 30th was
Hmm.
his birthday that we just had for him. He would have been
Right.
11 years old this year.
And he had
Yeah,
what
he
was it,
had
cancer?
cancer. Urosarcoma is he had it in the eye lobe. It started in the eye lobe. He's been
Mm-hmm.
battling that since he was 4. We found out when he was like 4, like going in and
Mm-hmm.
out of like going into 5. We kind of found out, and he just was like super like you. If you saw this kid, you would never know like what. Like we had to deal with so much hard things where it just made like it's easy. Like even with real estate, it's easy for me to get on the phone. Like what? I
Mm-hmm.
remember when his cancer came back for the second time, and they had to take his eye, and we were trying to keep it from him. And then like a few weeks before, we told him, he's like, "Oh man, I already know. I know they was gonna take my eye." He said, he
Wow.
said, "At least they not taking my arm. At least they not taking my leg. I can still run. I can still play my games. It's just an eye. It's just one eye." He always had that. Always had that
Wow, man.
perspective on everything. Like it could always be worse. It could always.
I'm sure you learned a lot
I
from him,
did.
man.
I
Seriously.
definitely did.
Yeah, I'm sorry for for those circumstances, man. But yeah, man, it was a pleasure
Uh,
having you, bro. And I'm looking forward to having you again. Make sure you leave a comment in the comment section, everybody watching this. Build credit. And that's what the next episode is going to be about, based on your
right.
feedback. Look, Todd, man, Todd, the credit guy, it's been a real pleasure to have you on this podcast. Man, I picked up a few nuggets today. I know everybody
Yeah,
else
I hope
picked up some
so.
nuggets, but I definitely
I
picked
hope
up a
so. And
few.
they can feel
And
free to
I'm over here taking
right,
notes,
and feel
man.
free to hit me. Listen, I'm not one of those people that don't answer the DMs. You know, if I'm allowed to and I'm not busy doing something, I'll answer the DMs. I'll answer a question for you.
Yeah.
Just don't ask me a million questions where it's like, all right, now this is turned into a consultation. Like you want to ask me like something
Right.
simple, like feel free to jump into the DMs, ask me a question. I'm an open book. I'm not one of those guys that's unreachable. I'm not that guy.
I love it, man. That's why I reached out to you in the first place, because I'm the same exact way, man. So, like, everybody who, if you DM me before, I
Mhm.
respond to my stuff. Um, as long as it's not turning into a long-winded
Right.
conversation and I got the time to do it, I'm
Right.
gonna do it, right? But I reach out to people that are just like me, and that's why I had you on today's podcast, man. Real, authentic people actually doing what they say and not just talking about it and trying to sell you the story. That's what we have on this podcast. This is the Business and Investing Podcast. This is an action oriented podcast, and we're here to help you go from where you are to where you want to be. So, listen, guys, definitely reach out to Ty. Let me know what else you want to see on this podcast as well. And we're going to see you guys in the next one. Peace.